Bills! Welcome to the National Football Show. Hope all are having a spectacular week. Look, I know some of you are cheering what happened in the Super Bowl, and a lot of you, especially here, are still getting over the bumps and bruises of Sunday. You guys, there's no question. Hey, watch this. The passion that you have right now. Some of you go back to 2017 and that feeling of winning your first Super Bowl versus losing this Super Bowl, which many of you predicted would be a big score, including me, and the emotions that you feel from those two games. Man, that's what makes sports great, though. The highs and lows. The highs and lows, man. I appreciate all you guys coming aboard here. So let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this. Do you feel good about heading into the Eagle future? How do you feel after the Super Bowl loss? Heading into the 2023 offseason, mini camps, rookie camp, the draft, free agency, the fall camp, Jalen Hurts, and getting ready. There's a lot of work to do. We all know this. But how do you feel going into the offseason here about the Eagle future? Bob's like, sick to my stomach. Steve goes, I was confident at halftime in a house full of Cowboy fans. Yeah. Joshua goes, I feel the future is bright. Howie looked mad at the press conference today. I wouldn't call it mad. I would call it focused. I saw the press conference too. Okay? I saw the press conference too. He knows he has a ton of work to do. Birds fan goes, Sills, I feel good. I think Hurts has what it takes to keep us competing. Yes. The question is for how long? Will he keep it on the railroad tracks? Tone says, I'm optimistic because of the quarterback position. I want to see Hurts take on a larger load. I know that doesn't mean, and it's an open-ended comment, Tone. I know you don't want to see him with 20 carries in the run game. You want to see him more evolve at the quarterback position into being more like what Russell Wilson was back in the day. That's kind of what I see him as. Is that fair, guys? Okay? I want to see Jalen evolve into what Russell Wilson was earlier in his career. By the way, that's a Hall of Fame career. Okay? Russell Wilson is going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you can have him evolve into Russell Wilson on what Wilson was when that team was competitive, and then he had to take on a bigger role like Tone was saying, I think we're good with that. If we're looking at Jalen Hurts' ceiling as someone goes, Sills, Russell Wilson in his prime, I'm good with that. I think everybody else would be good with that too. Because I would not say he's better or going to be better than Wilson because he's not the passer Wilson is. But he could evolve into that. I personally think Russell Wilson was a fabulous runner, but he didn't run to run. He ran because it was part of his game. But I think him and Jalen Hurts have a lot in common with the smarts in the run game. Okay? Big D goes, Sills, what's your thoughts on Vance Joseph? Know him very well. I got a great picture of me and him at the Super Bowl. I just thought it right now, and I'm going to post that picture on my Twitter page after the program. I love him. I love him. But anytime, hey, guys, can I tell you what bringing in a voice like Vance Joseph means? I'm going to give you a comment here. And you tell me if it's comparable. You know how you go over to your family's house and you got a bunch of family members, and you're sitting around and you're hacking it up. You guys are joking it up. Everybody gets it. You're all in a comfort zone. And all of a sudden, one of your family members brings somebody that's never been over to the house. Everybody goes quiet. Why? Because they don't know if they are going to say something that could offend this guy. They don't know who he is. They don't know his philosophy. They don't know his politics. They don't know if he could take a joke or not. They don't know pretty much anything about that guy. So what happens in the room? It becomes uncomfortable. That's what happens when you hire a coach, and that's the feeling players get when you hire somebody from the outside. As talented as that guy may be, as talented as Vance Joseph may be, there's going to be an uncomfortable feeling in the room. Okay? Anytime you bring anybody in any situation, that's what initially happens. I'm not saying he can't overcome it. I'm just saying that's what it's going to be like. Now, to me, I'm hiring from within. At all costs, I'm hiring from within, especially coming off a season that I played my ass off and was minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. That's how I feel. So, Vance Joseph, talented coordinator. Does that necessarily mean he fits in the room? We shall see. Okay? Tone goes like this. You've just defined the cost of meeting new people. It's uncomfortable at first. Exactly. And no one's saying you can't overcome that. But when you bring anybody in any realm of your life into the room, it's always going to be uncomfortable versus having somebody in the room already where you're in a comfort zone. Okay? Then you don't have to work on that dynamic. So it's not so much, is Vance Joseph a good coach? It's more, is Vance Joseph a fit? Look at it from that angle, guys. Lovie Smith's not a fit. Seth Joyner's not a fit. Those guys aren't fits to what they're doing. That's not the direction they're in. You've got to look at fits now. We're not talking about a rebuild. Well, in some aspects you are. Hey, by the way, the Eagles are in a rebuild. I know some of you don't want to hear this, but the Philadelphia Eagles are in a rebuild. Okay? You're in a rebuild. Think about that for a minute. Usually you use that term and that phrase for teams that suck. The Philadelphia Eagles are in a rebuild. Maybe that's the better word, reload. Okay, how about that, RJ? Maybe that's the better word, reload. Because I think you have to I don't think you could put that in the same negative term. Because rebuild is like the Jets. You know what I mean? Rebuild is like what the Jags were. Retool. Okay, I think those are better terms. I do. Rebuilds for like the teams like the Bears. Okay, so you're right. I think that's more. Think of the Bears. Hey, you hear what the Bears are doing? The Bears are fielding offers for Justin Fields in a package. They may want to draft Bryce Young. How's that for you? Thank you, Lovie Smith. Hey, man. Thank you, Lovie Smith. You may end up trading Justin Fields to the Houston Texans. Okay? You may end up trading him to the Texans so that you could get Bryce Young. How about that, man? A lot of news today, too, by the way. Top 20 free agents. Now, these are free agents that are most likely going to re-sign with teams. So it's not the same list that I threw at you guys 2 weeks ago. I'm going to show you how much money it's going to cost you to bring your entire team back. Also, I want to revisit the top 10 quarterbacks that I put on a list post Super Bowl. I want to do that, but I want to ask you something here. I want to look at the Eagles' optimism that we just talked about here. This is the Eagles' schedule that you're going to play this coming season. Tell me if you think it's any different than what you just faced. Home schedule. First, we'll start with home. You face Dak. Is Jalen better than Dak? And will the Eagles be better than Dak? Most likely. I think the Eagles will be better than the Cowboys. The Giants, you face Daniel Jones. Eagles have handled that team. Commanders, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They say Sam Howell, I guess. What if they bring in Derek Carr? So right now it's a question mark. Here on February 16th, the Commander quarterback situation, to me, is still a headless horseman. They got some talent on the team. They got some wideouts. Antonio Gibson's a good back. Their offensive line is getting better. Their D-line is really good. Their back end ain't the best. They're still in a position where they need a quarterback. So far, 3 of the home games, you got Dak and Daniel Jones, and then you got the Commanders. Okay? I still think the Eagles are ahead and shoulders above those 3 teams. Then you got the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, until the schedule comes out, is Kyler Murray going to be early in the season or is he going to be late? Because if he's early, the Eagles don't have to play him. 49ers. I know we have a lot of Niner fans in here. They got a great roster. And they're going to want, and they are easily going to want a piece of the Eagles. However, who's the quarterback? Brock Purdy? He's not ready for 6 months. What if that game's early in the season? Trey Lance? Maybe. Probably. They still got question marks at quarterback too, right? The 49ers have question marks at quarterback. I don't care what you say. As good as that roster is, shit, man, they could enter that Eagle game with the same issue. Who's your quarterback? The Bills, you got Josh Allen coming into the building. Are you better than the Bills? No. Currently, right now, you're not better than the Bills with all your free agents. You can't count on those guys coming back. You don't have but 4 guys on defense signed. So you're not better than the Bills on February 16th. You're not. You're not better than the Bills. Now, will the Bills lose Stephon Diggs? I believe they are. But you're not better than the Bills. Your roster is not better than them. Your offense may be better than them, but your defense isn't. Okay? They got a better roster than you. You do not have a better defense than the Bills. Okay? You got half a unit right now. And without a running back. See, what Brandon says here is that the Bills won't lose Stephon Diggs. Yeah, they will. He's scheduled to make $25 million. And the contract kicks in for Josh Allen. They're not keeping a $45 million quarterback and a $25 million wide receiver and have $75 million lined up in 2 players of their $224 million cap. Not happening. Not happening. Hey, how about this one? The Dolphins and Tua. Do you extend Tua? Do you pick up the 5th-year option on him at $19 to $20 million? What's your options? Boy, Tagovailoa versus Hurts. That's going to be interesting to see. That's must-see television if he's healthy. But if you're the Dolphins, do you pick up the 5th-year option on Tagovailoa? Do you pick the 5th-year option up? Or do you go after Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo? Aaron Rodgers. Can you see Aaron Rodgers with that offense? Wow. I think you got it. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's your guy. Especially, so what are you going to do? Waste Tyreek Hill another year? I think you have to extend him. It's cheaper than going and paying $60 million for Aaron Rodgers. Then you got Cousins and the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to take a couple steps back. Personally, watch this. I think the Vikings may move off of Dalvin Cook. I'm hearing rumors they may move off of Dalvin Cook because of the injury issues and the amount of money that he's making. They may end up moving off him. That would be a catastrophic blow, in my opinion, to an already overrated offense. They may be moving off him. So far at home, you got Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Tua, Cousins, the Commanders, Cardinals, and 49ers. You don't have an elite quarterback as of right now on any of those three teams. So you got Josh Allen coming to the link. You got really one guy that you really have to be over-prepared against, and that's Josh Allen. Let's take a look at the road games. You obviously have Dak. Dak has beaten you big time. He's got a great record versus the Eagles. Then you got Daniel Jones again. Commanders, we don't know. Then you got Matthew Stafford. Depends who the coordinator is. See, if Jonathan Gannon was the coordinator coming back, I'd be concerned, but I don't know who the guy's going to be yet. But I do know Stafford's won a Super Bowl in Cooper Kupp. He's going to be playing against a retooled secondary. How do you feel about Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford playing against a retooled Eagles secondary? Question marks. I'm not saying they can't do it, just question marks. Your team is not going to be the same. Stop. 2022 is over. 2023, that team will not resemble the 2022 team. Stop looking at that team. This is not how the NFL works. Okay? You do not have the same team. I agree, Brandon. I think the NFC is going to be weak again. Then you got the Patriots, Mac Jones. Not really somebody that frightens me, but Belichick is a heck of a coach. Belichick versus Sirianni's coaching staff, his new revamped coaching staff, I don't know. We'll see. And it's at Gillette in New England. Who's going to be the quarterback for the Jets? I don't know. Seahawks, Geno Smith. My question with Geno will be, can he do it again? Who's the quarterback for the Bucks? I don't know. Kyle Trask? Then you got Mahomes. So the two quarterbacks you have to worry about, in my opinion, probably three. In this order, Mahomes, Allen, and Dak. Those will be the three elite guys you have to play against this year. Two on the road and one at home. I wouldn't really look at it and go any other way. I mean, you're looking at three elite quarterbacks. And once again, I agree, Tone. I think the NFC is there for the taking again. If Howie does everything right, it's there for the taking. So even if he has a lesser team, like I said yesterday, I still think the Eagles and the 49ers are going to have the two best rosters. I think so. Okay? I do. I think so. Now, I want to show you something here. And I'm going to need your help here. Let me show you something here. I know some of you are under the impression that you're going to be, once again, competitive for the Super Bowl in 2023. How many people think the Eagles are going to be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl in 2023? How many people? How many people believe? Goldberg says we will. James says nah. Peter says yes. Look at what 49ers don't have a quarterback, and they still made it to the NFC Championship game, and they didn't have to pay him. How's that for you? One of the favorites to come out of the NFC, but the whole thing, I don't think so. Huh. They are the favorites in my house. The NFC is so weak, Sells. I agree with you. I agree. The 49ers do have a quarterback, and Purdy plays like he did. Okay. I think the 49ers are the best roster in the NFC. Today. Let's run it back. You know that term people use? Let's run it back. In Philadelphia. How many people think the 49ers have a better roster than you today on February 6th than the Philadelphia Eagles? How many people think that? And by the way, you've got the better quarterback. How many people think San Francisco has a better roster than you? San Francisco's new defensive coordinator? That's true. Yes. Not me. Denk doesn't think San Francisco has a better roster than the Eagles with only 4 guys signed on defense. Not a better offense. I said roster. I didn't ask you who had a better offense. Who has a better roster? 53-man roster. Eagles do not have a better roster than you. And here's why. If we ran it back with your notion and your mentality, okay? We ran it back with Dank's mentality. Hurts is scheduled to make $1.4 million this coming season. Sanders on the market value, if you were to roll it back and bring him back. I'm just hypothetically saying $5 million. Howie gives him $5 million. Goddard makes $15 million. AJ makes $20 million. Smith makes $1.4 million. Lane makes $18 million. Sayamalo would make $12 million. Kelsey would make $10 million. Dickerson, $5 million. And Malata, $14 million. For a total of $101.8 million. Let's go to the defense. Brandon Graham, $14 million. Drop him down to $5 million. Okay? Reddick, $15 million. Hardgrave will get $17 million. Cox, drop him from $14 million to $5 million. Josh Sweat, $14 million. Kaiser White, we're running it back, $4 million. TJ Edwards, I'm giving him $7 million. Slay, $18 million. Bradbury, $14 million. CJ, $13 million. And Epps, $6 million. For a grand total of $120 million. Which comes out to $223 million, and you haven't paid your quarterback. How are you doing this? Where in the world do you think you have a better roster in San Francisco? You're not going to pay your quarterback? Okay, run it back. It's the only way you run it back. Now, one of these players are taking hometown discounts like many of you thought. How are you running it back that if you brought everybody back and the entire roster back, it would cost you $232 million. Excuse me, $221 million of a $224 million salary cap. You're not restructuring shit. You don't restructure what? On free agents? You can't restructure. Restructure who? Kelsey's on a one-year deal. You can't restructure a one-year contract. You can't restructure a one-year contract at the corner. You can't restructure a one-year contract at CJ. You can't restructure a contract that's expired on Seumalo. You're out of your tree. Where are you getting this? $223 million to bring the entire team back with raises and without paying the quarterback. How are you doing this? How do you say you have a better roster in San Francisco? So you're not paying your quarterback? Okay. So you're not paying Jalen. The only way to bring this roster back is to not pay Jalen. Quarterback, franchise tag, 32.42. Running back, 10.9. Tight end, 11.3. O-line, $18 million. DTs, $19 million. Defensive rush ends, $20 million. Corners, $18 million. And safeties, $14 million. CJ's gone. How do you have a better roster again than San Francisco? To run this thing back would cost the Eagles $223 million. You don't have the money to pay your quarterback. Or you pay your quarterback, Seumalo doesn't come back. Both your backers are out. Bradbury and CJ are out. And you have the same team. How's that possible? CJ Gardner-Johnson's not giving you a deal. You're going to have to pay him $14 million. Then you're going to have to pay Hargrave. I got 17. Shit, he's making 13 now. 11 sack guy? Where in the world on February 16th do you think you have a better roster than the Bills? Than the Niners? Shit, the Chiefs? Where do you think that? 2022 roster, yes, I agree. 2023? You have no idea what you're talking about. A lot of people have fantasy monopoly money and how the NFL works. I'm here to hook you up. That's not how this works. They want to rip the Eagles apart. And the punishment that Howie has for signing people to one-year contracts, this team's not built for the future. It was built for last year. That's a fact. 4 guys on defense under contract. You're losing your Pro Bowl back. And you're losing an all-pro type guard. I don't know. You're losing both corners? Or you're losing one corner and a safety? Man, I don't think you're getting any of them guys back. You probably will get CJ back because I think the Eagles are going to make him a top priority. Okay? Jameson thinks that the Eagles have a better roster today with all of these people that will command more money on the open market than where they are now. Let's see. 16 free agents you have. 16 free agents. And most of these 16 are a critical part of the 53-man roster. Tone goes, this is why it's so important to make sure your quarterback is the guy. Absolutely. because the roster will always getting better or worse. I say the roster gets worse when you start paying your quarterback. Roster's gotten worse in Kansas City. Roster's gotten worse in Green Bay. The roster's getting worse in Los Angeles. The roster got worse in Tampa. Name the place where you gave quarterbacks raises. The rosters all got worse. Oh, except Philly, according to Jameson and a lot of other people. Not in Philly, though. Everywhere else, it gets worse, but not in Philly. Really? Everywhere else, it gets worse. I see. Okay? We don't know the roster, just speculation. Same with all teams. Well, if you know it's speculation, same with all teams, you have the most free agents. San Fran doesn't. They're giving Nick Bosa a contract extension. They signed Debo last year. They got McCaffrey under contract for 2 more years. They got Fred Warner under contract. Hafanga's under contract. Trent Williams is under contract. And they got quarterbacks that they're not paying anything for. What are you talking about? There's nothing going on in San Francisco that's going to injure that franchise when it comes to losing critical players, unlike the Eagles. The Eagles are going to lose critical pieces to their success in 22, but no one sees that. By the way, a lot of you guys want to run Kaiser White out of town. Kobe Dean has done shit for me to make me go he could take that position. I'm not handing him anything. He needs to earn it. Same thing with fat guy Jordan Davis. I'm not handing anybody a position. You guys want to run Fletcher Cox's ass out of town? Why? That guy Jordan Davis hasn't won that job. Howie works shit. Howie is an uneducated drafter. He is great at making deals. We're going to get into this. He is not a very good draft guy. Howie's drafts have been. No, they have not. Can't draft a corner to save his ass. Linebackers, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox in 20 years. Give me a break. So if you want to run it back, you got to go to Clutch Sports and go like this. We're not paying Jalen this year. Okay? You can't have both. And that's why when Tone says, you better be right on Jalen Hurts. And by the way, I know some of you are probably going, hey, Sills likes Jalen. I like what he did this year. I still hold to my guns. You pay that man 5 years at $50 million, he's going to miss significant games over the next 5 years. It's a given. He's already missed significant games. That's not getting better. That will always be my position on dual threat guys. They won't play 17 games. They won't. He won't. He hasn't. In his 2 years starting, he's already missed games. He will miss more games. Okay? I'm not drafting a quarterback in the first round. That's absurd. Okay? $30 million for 5. Are you crazy, man? Shit, the guy in Miami made $30 million this year, and he's Tyreek Hill. Okay? See, Darlene goes, then you structure his contract on that basis. Man, I'm not going to go in there and put parameters, Darlene, on Jalen Hurts when that's why, to me, as I reported yesterday, Darlene, I don't have a problem playing Jalen Hurts $45 to $50 million. I have a problem with a 5-year structure. He's going to miss games over those 5 years. With a lesser roster, he's going to miss games. If you want to pay Jalen Hurts $50 million, I don't care. But I'm not doing it over 5 years. Okay? I'm not. His dual threat always gets hurt. Ask Lamar and Kyler and RG3. Did Michael Vick ever play a full 16-game season? Did he ever play a full 16-game season? Michael Vick, career stats. Did he ever? Let me see. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 year, 2006. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. He had 1 year where he went 16 games. And when don't compare Jalen Hurts to guys with an arm and rely on winning games throwing the ball, because that's not what he relies on winning games with. He relies on dual threat. He's a runner and a thrower. He didn't break any Super Bowl records throwing the ball. He broke Super Bowl records, what? Running the ball. That's what he did. He was never going to break Super Bowl records throwing the ball. It's not what he does. Not saying he hasn't improved. That's not what I'm saying. And once again, I don't have a problem paying the guy that. But you can't. You can't have both. Howie will you don't restructure 1-year contracts with 16 free agents. Restructuring who? You can't. You can't. Now we get into the topics. On rebuilding this team, and I showed you what this is right here. Should Howie rebuild this football team through free agency or the draft? Why would I give Slay more guaranteed money? He sucks. He doesn't suck. He sucked the last 7 games. Why would I give him more money? Ty says draft, both. He can't do both because he's not good at both. He's not good at both. Howie Roseman's biggest moves as general manager, Tone, help me out. His biggest moves, trading for Slay, drafting Jalen Hurts, drafting Dallas Goedert, bringing in CJ, bringing in Bradbury, bringing in Reddick, bringing in Hargrave. Sounds to me like a free agent guy, more so than a drafting guy. Bringing in A.J. Brown. I say Howie Roseman needs to do a better job in the free agent side because that's his strength. His strength is not the draft. His 2022 draft sucked. The majority of his drafts suck. He hits on a few guys they have. Look, some of them are going to be borderline Hall of Famers. Fletcher might be. Okay? Fletcher might be. The rest of them have been below or average. His drafting, this is why some of you still look at Howie and go like this. Oh, well, you know, Jalen Reagor will always be the one name that will always give Eagle fans agita. For some of you white guys out there, that means an upset stomach, okay? That's what agita means. All right? Upset stomachs every time you hear that. Give a shit what you say. His drafting blows. His deal making has been really good. Okay? So should he trade these picks? Should he make deals? Do you bring in a guy? A defensive lineman? A young player? Or to me, I think you hang out in the SEC if you're going to use your draft picks. But his ability to be able to do deals and work in free agency has far been greater success than his drafting. Okay? Look at this guy. His last 2 drafts, Howie has an A+ in my book. Your draft last year had 0 impact from every single person on that draft. Not one person contributed to your team. Not one. They were all Fs. Your 2022 draft. Okay? Let's see. Let's check this out too. Let's take a look at the last 2 drafts, like this guy just says. 2021 NFL Draft Eagles. Yeah, he's an impact player, the backup tight end. Oof. Devonta Dickerson, fantastic. Milton Williams might be a player. That's not bad. The rest of those guys, Kenneth Gainwell, okay. The rest of those guys, let's go to 2020 draft. That's really your test. 2020 Eagles draft. Jalen Reagor. Hurts covers it. Taylor, Wallace, Driscoll, Hightower, Bradley, Quez. There were 9 picks. 2 guys are worth the shit. His drafts have been great. How about his 2019? 2019 Eagles draft. Quez Watkins sucks. 2019 draft. Sanders. They're moving him. Whiteside. Miller. Holy Jesus criminy. This 2009, is anybody on the team after this year? Andre Dillard is a bust. Sanders not getting a contract extension. Whiteside out of the league. Miller, who? This 2019 draft is pathetic. And you want him to build a team in the draft. Okay. Yeah. And the linemen panning out, the old linemen. Jeff Stoutland's in the building. Of course they're going to pan out. Since that guy's been in the building, the Eagles are a factory at offensive linemen. Howie in the draft. Howie free agency, I'm in. I'm in. Okay? You're downplaying the fact we were able to sit our guys. So the 13th pick in the draft sat behind 2 guys that you hired from the ice cream stand. Think about that. Jordan Davis couldn't beat out a 36-year-old Adama Sue and Linville Joseph. Think about that. Those guys missed half the year, according to that dude. We had really great. No, you didn't. The Chiefs ran the ball right down the Eagles' throat in that game. Actually, the last 2 games. We had such good players. So wait a minute. Nakobe Dean, who was a non-factor in special teams, which is arguably the worst unit in the league, is all of a sudden going to be Derek Brooks for the Eagles next year. What an asinine thought. I mean, yeah, Nakobe Dean, man, this guy's going to really step in. He is not. That's why, man, you're going to get rid of Kaiser White for who? Nakobe Dean, you're gambling there. There's where you lose and don't make the playoffs with decisions like that. So, yeah, Kaiser White, we can live without him and put Dean in. What makes you say that? What have you seen that the coaches haven't seen that you say that Nakobe Dean can step in? Don't you think Howie would want to have put in his prized possession third round steal of the draft and got rid of Kaiser White immediately? Oh, okay. That guy couldn't even get on the field. Out of control. Your spending is out of control in your own brains. White is too slow. Nakobe Dean's too small. White's too slow. Nakobe Dean's a schwimp. I have not seen one indication that Nakobe Dean's an NFL linebacker. Not one. And nor have you. Okay? Nor have you. That you're going on blind potential. And he was on the damn team this year. But yet some of you think, well, Sills, this guy will step in for White. No, you're assuming that. You're assuming that. I don't think Kaiser White played all that bad. I thought the entire unit played shitty in the Super Bowl. It wasn't just him. Your corner sucked. I mean, in the second half, do you know in the second half, Patrick Mahomes threw for 90% completion percentage like I said he would? 90%. And the only reason he didn't have 100% is because one of them was a throwaway. Not 100%. I had a throwaway in the second half. The Eagles couldn't stop shit in our offense. You couldn't. They pretty much scored on every single drive in the second half. Out-fooled you, out-coached you, outplayed you. Good old Chris was the field. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. The field. The buses being late. The practice facility. Shit, man. One more excuse. You got the trifecta. Let me ask you this one here. How many people think Howie has too much power over the franchise? How many people think he has too much power? Over the franchise. There's not like a lot of fail-safes. Dips his nose into the coach, free agency, drafting. Man, he's everywhere. Hiring. By the way, Nick Sirianni's not hired. Now you know who runs the coaching staff. Nick Sirianni's not interviewing Vance Joseph. Howie is. Woo! Nick Sirianni has no say in that organization. Zero. He's got the Howie knee pads on right now for the offseason. You got to get extra padding now because it's the offseason. So Howie has to have extra padding. Okay? This is Howie's show. Big time now. Gotcha. Yeah. This is Howie's show. Yeah. Nick Sirianni, hey, get this. If Nick Sirianni really ran the coaching staff, Brian Johnson would be a no-brainer. He'd be a no-brainer. Bang, he's in. He's the guy. But it's not. This is where Doug got fired over. This is exactly how Doug got fired. Nick knows to stay out of the way. It's pretty smart. Okay? I'm not saying Nick moves like a snake, But Nick knows how to navigate because Frank Wright told him to. You want that job and you don't want to be Doug Peterson? Move quietly in the offseason. Move quietly in the offseason. Okay? Yes, sir, baby. Oh, Nick's got his pads out now, man. Yeah, Nick don't have to walk into like the NovaCare Center any longer wearing shoes. He's just on his knee pads now. He's on the Howie knee pads. Hey, Howie. Howie looking at DC and OC. I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. Oh, okay. That's not how you run a franchise. That's not how you run a franchise. That's how you control a franchise. That's how you control a franchise. Howie controls the franchise. Howie did not build the football team for longevity. Howie doesn't care about the future. Tone's right. The one thing with Jalen Hurts that's given him now, oh my God, it's given him autonomy. And on top of that, even more control of the team. Howie Roseman, nothing gets through that NovaCare front door without stopping. I'm surprised he doesn't have his office right there at the front door. Nothing gets by that guy. Nothing gets by him. That's why Howie could be in the Super Bowl or have a 4-win team. Because that's the swings and the pendulum that he has and how he runs that team. He could go from having a team win a Super Bowl in 17 to a team that won 4 games 3 years ago to a team that's in the Super Bowl to another toilet team if he makes the poor decisions this offseason. Like I showed you, to bring back the entire 2022 team, you got to put $223 million on the table and not pay Jalen. That's not happening, okay? That means this. The team you have right now assembled is not good enough to win the NFC because you have missing pieces. I'm not saying he's not going to retool it, but let's go here. Hey, Tone, what was the year of the Dream Team? What was the year of the Dream Team? What was that year that you guys brought all the free agents in? And there was a ton of them dudes. The Nnamdi Asomugha guys. 2012. Well, two points in Eagle history here. You ready? 2012 and 2022. Couldn't have been any more different with all the free agents you brought in. One worked, one didn't. It's not always going to work. And most likely, you're never going to I'll tell you something. I'll tell you about your 2022 team. That is the greatest collection of one-year mercenaries I've ever seen signed on one team, maybe going back to the old George Allen, Washington Redskin, and Al Davis Raider teams. You know, the over-the-hill gang that Washington had? Al Davis liked to hire and sign old dudes too, trying to get a little bit more with better coaching. Okay? So you're talking about guys who used to do that by bringing in and signing a lot of guys that were what people thought was over the hill. Okay? 2011, okay. So look at Clay. Clay's in denial. He thinks you're going to have a great team again. Okay. Tell you what, Clay. Don't pay Jalen? You will. Don't pay Jalen? You will. You pay Jalen? Half this roster on defense especially is gone. You'll lose CJ, Bradbury, TJ, Kaiser, Fletcher, Hardgrave are all going to command, because they went to the Super Bowl, first top flight money. And the Eagles are not going to pay that. Boy, I know Eagle fans don't want to. This is the terrible list. Tone, what do you want? Not to pay Jalen or to run it back? What do you want to do? Do you want to run it back or not pay Jalen? Which is it? I'll tell you what, I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you want to do? Run it back or not pay Jalen? Or pay Jalen and have half the roster come back? What do you guys want to do? Let me know. I'm there for you. What do you want to do? Can't have both. What? I'm not stirring anything. And Reyes thinks you can have both. Where are you getting the money from? Where are you getting the money from? It's $223 million to bring these guys back. And I'm giving these guys, some of these guys less than market value. Tone says got to pay the guy. I'll live with the new look roster. Don't you get it, guys? You didn't listen to me when I opened the show. If you just had listened to me, it might work. But of course you didn't listen to me. Pay Jalen. Agreed. Lose some of the people. But the only quarterbacks you're going to be facing in the NFC on your schedule are Dak, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith this year. Look at your division. Dak, Daniel Jones, you own them. The Commanders, they don't have a quarterback. The NFC's still there for the taking. We're not talking about top flight quarterbacks in the AFC that you got to play every week. Dude, I think Russell Wilson's going to be better. Take a look at that AFC West now. You got Carr out of there. You might have Aaron Rodgers in there. You potentially, with the Raiders, could have Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson with Sean Payton, and Justin Herbert, and have all those guys to face twice a year in that division. That is a murderer's row of good players. You don't have it in the NFC East. Okay? You don't have it. You don't have the highest hill to have to climb. If you're the AFC West, you got a mountain to climb. And at the top of the mountain, you have Mahomes there. Pay Hurts and try to retool the best option every year. Doesn't guarantee nothing, but people are going to want to be paid. You're absolutely right. But don't you want them to be paid? Bradbury had a spectacular year in a one-year prove-it deal. Congratulations. CJ, 800. Here's where people are missing the boat. CJ making $836,000. Shit, man. That dude's going to command $14 million. He's going to have one of the biggest pay increases of any player. Co-interception leader in the NFL. The hits he made in the Super Bowl. The open field tackles. There were a few guys that made money for the Eagles Super Bowl Sunday. One was Jalen Hurts, and the other, as I said a couple days ago, was C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We could get a game-changing defensive player by trading the pick. I'll tell you what. I hear the Chargers want to dump Khalil Mack because of salary cap issues. I don't know. Would you bring him in like Von Miller was brought into the Rams? Hey, do me a favor, Tone. How old is Khalil Mack? Okay? Khalil Mack and Hassan Reddick as your rush guys? I'm good with that. and Josh Sweat. Okay? I wouldn't have a problem. If Mac is too old, then I'm probably not doing it. He's 31. I'm good with that. Bring him in because I'm hearing the Chargers want to, because they got to sign Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa's contract is up. So they got to find money. And as typical Spanos behavior, they'll cut a high-paid guy like that. They'll cut him, and they'll eat it on their cap because the new CBA allows it to be deferred out. 3 years ago, you couldn't do that, and the NFL owners wanted to redo the CBA because they didn't want the Todd Gurley deals and the Clay Matthews Jr. deals on the books any longer. That would corner a lot of the salary cap. So you're able to defer that money out now. Look at Cody. Dan, with these contracts, it's more about teams having a way. What? Your contracts are your team. This is how you build. You build an opportunity to play for championships in January and February and in March. Jesus criminy. This is why on March 10th of last year, of 2022, what did I tell Eagle fans? I think you got the deepest roster in the NFL, and I think you're going to the Super Bowl. I was the first person in the Philly market to make that proclamation. Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Xander thought I was nuts. I said, they got the deepest. Turned out, you had the best in the NFC. Okay? You were deeper because the quarterback wasn't making any money. That's why I said that. Dez goes, the Eagles will be fine. So you think you got the same? I'll ask you one last time. You think you have a better roster today with nobody under contract than the 49ers on February 16th? With no tackles. You can't count on those. They're not Eagles anymore. Javon Hargrave's not an Eagle. Fletcher Cox is not an Eagle. Gardner Johnson's not an Eagle. Bradbury's not an Eagle. TJ's not an Eagle. Kaiser White's not an Eagle. Miles Sanders is not an Eagle. Isaac Seumalo's not an Eagle. Zach Pascal's not an Eagle. Gardner Johnson's not an Eagle. Marcus Epps is not an Eagle. Kelsey's not an Eagle. These are all guys the organization has to decide what to do with. And on Kelsey's side, what he wants to do. Once your season's up, you're a free agent. Oh, no, this isn't true. This is a lie. Really? Hired Dan for DC because you're the man, my friend. Wouldn't want that job, man. I mean, you'd be in the principal's office every day. Hour number 2. I have a priority list I want to ask you on the signings of free agents. Okay? You tell me if you agree with my priority list on the Philadelphia Eagles. I got 10 players. Okay? 10 players. You tell me. Hit the like button. Hour number 2. Keep it here on the National Football Show.